If you've just jumped into Godsquad Neo Myth, or you've been playing for a while but still feel like your squad isn't hitting hard enough, you're definitely not alone. On paper, it's an idle RPG about fighting ancient gods with a modern vibe, but in practice, your success really comes down to which guardians you bring into battle. With more than 30 guardians in the game, it's easy to waste resources on characters that look cool but don't actually pull their weight when things get tough. That's exactly why in this video, we're breaking down a complete Godsquad Neo Myth tier list and ranking every single guardian. We'll talk about which ones truly carry your team, which ones are only situational, and which ones you might want to skip entirely. Whether you're a free-to-play player or someone aiming for late-game dominance, this guide will help you build a squad that actually wins instead of just surviving. Let's get into it and find out who really deserves a spot in your lineup. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking guardians in Godsquad Neo Myth. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The guardians in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Divine Guan Yu, Golden Cicada, and Ma Chao. If you're wondering why some guardians feel like they hit their ceiling way too early, welcome to the honest corner of the tier list. This is the part where expectations quietly meet reality, stamina runs out faster than patience, and you start thinking, yeah, maybe this one is not coming with me to endgame. These are the C tier guardians in Godsquad Neo Myth. Not useless, but definitely struggling to keep up once things get serious. Divine Guan Yu is a classic example of a guardian that feels pretty solid at first, especially when you are clearing early content and learning the flow of the game. He can handle basic enemies without much trouble, and for a while, he gives that reassuring sense of power. The problem shows up the moment high-level bosses enter the picture. His performance drops hard, fights take longer than they should, and you quickly realize there are simply stronger and more reliable guardians available for the same role. Divine Guan Yu is not terrible, he is just outclassed. Ma Chao follows a similar path with decent damage that carries him through early to mid-game content without embarrassing you. However, he is very upgrade dependent, and without proper investment, his damage output feels underwhelming. Even when fully upgraded, he struggles to justify his slot compared to other guardians who offer more value with less effort. Golden Cicada, on the other hand, brings a flashy trick to the table by striking enemies in a straight line with heavy lightning damage. It looks cool, it feels impactful at first, but the damage simply does not scale well into higher tier content. Without careful upgrades and balanced scaling, Golden Cicada falls behind fast, making it another guardian that works early on but fades out when the game ramps up. The guardians in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Demon Wukong, Heavenly Maiden, Huangzhong, Jiangjia, Mengpo, Prince Neja, Qin Liangyu, Zhou Yu, Wang Yi, Sun Shangxiang, and Soul Reaper. This is that comfy middle zone of the tier list where guardians are doing their job, pulling their weight, and then politely stepping aside when the real monsters show up. B tier in Godsquad Neo Myth is not about disappointment. It is about reliability with a clear expiration date. These guardians will carry you, support you, and sometimes even surprise you. Just do not expect miracles when endgame starts knocking. Heavenly Maiden is all about style and consistency. Calling lightning down from the sky to wipe groups of enemies never really gets old, and the heavy area of effect damage makes her feel great in most regular content. On top of that, boosting your critical hit rate is always welcome. The downside is simple. When compared to top tier guardians, her damage ceiling is noticeably lower, and she starts to feel more like a solid backup than a main carry. Soul Reaper brings the drama with literal fire raining from the sky. The area damage is strong, clearing mobs feels smooth, and the extra critical hit rate bonus quietly boosts your overall damage output. Unfortunately, no matter how much you invest in gear upgrades, Soul Reaper just refuses to cross into top tier territory. Strong, flashy, reliable, but never quite broken, Huangzhong leans heavily into control and survivability. Summoning Sunburst to deal heavy area damage feels impactful, especially in crowded fights. After pulling off a combo, the added defense buff gives your character some much needed toughness. That said, once you enter high tier content, his overall performance starts to lag behind guardians that scale harder with difficulty. Qin Liangyu is one of those guardians that feels absurdly strong at first. Heavy area damage that can instantly melt enemies is no joke, and the acceleration buff makes it incredibly hard for enemies to dodge your attacks. The problem is longevity. As you move deeper into late game progression, her damage does not scale well enough to stay competitive. Prince Neja focuses on mobility and consistency, charging into enemies and dealing area damage based on the Guardian's cultivation damage makes him feel very dependable. The evasion boost is also a nice quality of life bonus, especially in hectic fights. Sadly, gear upgrades do absolutely nothing for him, which seriously limits his long-term potential. Sun Xiangxiang is another Guardian that shines in structured combat. Charging forward and striking enemies in a straight line with heavy area damage feels satisfying, and the defense buff after landing combos adds some survivability. However, just like several others in this tier, she struggles to keep pace once late game progression demands higher scaling and stronger bonuses. Zhou Yu brings a surprisingly fun playstyle by throwing a massive ship anchor straight through enemies. The line damage is heavy, and the acceleration buff helps keep your attacks fast and efficient. Sadly, gear upgrades barely affect his performance, which makes him fall behind Guardians that benefit more from long-term investment. Demon Wukong sounds like a menace on paper, charging forward and smashing enemies in a line with huge area damage, while combos increase overall damage output. In practice, he dominates early and mid-game, but starts to struggle when facing high-tier content where enemies simply refuse to go down fast enough. Soulweaver Meng Po adds a layer of battlefield control by covering areas with mist and dealing thunder damage over time. Her combo-based damage increases can feel really strong in extended fights. Unfortunately, against high-tier bosses, her damage output just does not keep up, turning long fights into endurance tests. Wang Yi is a safe and defensive pick for players who value survivability. Charging the lightning blade to deal heavy area damage feels powerful early on, and the defense boost helps keep you alive. The issue is that her usefulness is mostly limited to early and mid-game, where she shines, but beyond that, she struggles to justify a slot. Zhang Jia closes out the B tier as a fantastic clearing tool for early to mid-game content. With upgrades, he actually feels quite strong and reliable for a while. However, once high-tier bosses enter the scene, his damage falls off hard, reminding you once again why B-tier Guardians are great companions, just not endgame legends. The Guardians in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Aqua Spirit Matriarch, Chief Exorcist, Glowmaster, Li Bailong, Lord of Justice, Martial Deity, and Ma Sun. This is the tier where things stop feeling pretty good and start feeling genuinely dangerous. A tier Guardians and Godsquad Neo Myth are the ones that make you sit up in your chair because suddenly enemies are disappearing faster and your build actually feels respected by the game. They are not quite unstoppable gods, but they are close enough that you stop questioning your life choices mid-fight. Martial Deity comes out swinging with pure confidence, slashing forward in a straight line and unleashing blazing energy that deletes enemies instantly is exactly as satisfying as it sounds. After landing a combo, the critical damage boost kicks in and pushes your damage even higher for a short window, which feels amazing during fast clears. The real kicker is that gear upgrades actually scale this Guardian properly, turning Martial Deity into a monster that just keeps getting better the more you invest. Chief Exorcist is the definition of reliable power. Tossing fireballs into enemies in front of you for heavy area damage makes crowd control effortless, and the combo-based critical damage increase keeps the pressure high. This Guardian does not rely on gimmicks, it just works. From mid-game into late game, Chief Exorcist holds up extremely well and rarely feels like a wasted slot. Ma Sun is all about clean, calculated damage. Attacking enemies in a straight line with damage equal to Ice Guardian cultivation damage gives him a very consistent damage profile. Once combos start stacking and boosting your overall damage, you really feel the momentum. Add gear upgrades into the mix, and Ma Sun ramps up hard, making him a strong and dependable A-tier pick. Aqua Spirit Matriarch brings pure intimidation by summoning a sea shark to deal serious damage based on Guardian cultivation damage. It hits hard, looks cool, and gets the job done. The added critical damage boost makes her even more appealing, especially for aggressive builds. For mid-game progression, she stands out as one of the strongest and most comfortable A-tier Guardians to run. Glowmaster quietly turns into a nightmare for enemies. Frost spikes slam into targets with damage tied directly to Guardian cultivation damage, and the critical damage buff it provides is no joke. Once upgrades kick in, Glowmaster starts feeling borderline unfair, pushing it dangerously close to top tier territory for progression-focused players. Lord of Justice rounds out the A tier with raw authority. Heavy area lightning damage can instantly wipe enemies, making clears feel effortless. On top of that, reducing incoming critical damage gives a defensive edge that really matters in tougher content. It is a rock-solid choice for mid to late game progression, especially if you like mixing survivability with overwhelming power. The Guardians in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Greed Lord, Asura Maru, and Shatter Lord. This is the part of the tier list where balance politely leaves the room. S-tier Guardians in Godsquad Neo Myth are not here to negotiate. They are here to erase enemies and move on. Once you start using these, it becomes very hard to go back because everything suddenly feels faster, cleaner, and way more efficient than it probably should. Greed Lord sets the tone immediately by forming a wolf formation that rips through enemies in a straight line with brutal area damage. On top of that, the raw damage boost it provides to your character turns every hit into a threat. What truly pushes Greed Lord into S-tier territory is how well it scales with gear upgrades. The more you invest, the more ridiculous it becomes, making it an absolute monster for progression. Asura Maru and Shatter Lord sit comfortably at the top of the meta for a reason. Asura Maru attacks at insane speed, hitting enemies multiple times and stacking serious damage before they even have time to react. The extra damage increase pushes builds to their maximum potential, which is why it is one of the strongest progression picks in the game. Shatter Lord brings overwhelming line-based area damage, and after landing a combo, the temporary damage boost turns short windows into complete enemy wipeouts. With top-tier gear enhancing its already massive damage, Shatter Lord is the definition of endgame power. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.